All right, everyone. Welcome to, I believe this is the 10th year of our league. Is that right?
Maybe. Well,
getting up there. We did it the first time in 2015, right?
Yeah.
2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4.
To be 11th.
It's 11. Yeah, it's our 11th year. And this, by the way, is the world's first ever video game fantasy league. We did it first. Everyone's copied it now. In fact, yesterday I did feel a little regret seeing that somebody else took my idea and turned it into a product where they are now making lots of money from their product. And I was just like, I probably could have stopped doing Sifted and just did a fantasy product, and I would probably be retired. Mm-hmm. It's a huge mistake. It just dawned on me yesterday how I screwed that up. How I came up with something and was not the one to capitalize on it. But anyway, we do it for fun here at Sifted. It is fun doing this draft. So how it works is Matt and I pick 10 games apiece. Matt gets the first pick this year. I had it last year. We take turns on that. We get to 10 games, and then we have 2 alternates. And the reason we have 2 alternates is because if any games that we pick are not released in 2025, you get a 0. But you can slide one of your alternates in to fill up to 2 games. One thing I did think about maybe changing for this year was like, after we had our 2 alternates, being able to flip whether we wanted one to be the first replacement or not. But I decided against it. We're going to kind of stick with the rules that we've had all along. I should also remind you guys that as of right now, the Sifted Fantasy Challenge that you guys can all play in is live. If you go to sifted.net right now, it is pinned to the top of the homepage. I'm telling you, though, you should watch our draft that we're about to do right now before you go and do your draft. I'm telling you, you're going to take some notes. In fact, put up Word on your monitor if you're watching on your PC. Pull out notes on your phone. If you're watching on your phone, you're watching on your TV. This is going to be a huge resource for you, and it will save you tons of time researching if you just look at our picks and then maybe shape things a little bit. Again, the Fantasy Challenge is a little bit different because each pick is weighted. Like your first pick is a multiplier that's higher, and then it dwindles as you get to your 10th pick. These are all just straight up. So what we do is we pick 10 games. If we have to put our alternates in because games are not released in the year, then that's fine. But ultimately, you hopefully have 10 games. You just add up the aggregate review score for all 10 of those games, and the biggest number wins. It's that simple. I have won 3 in a row, 4 of the last 5. I'm kind of playing with house money here, Matt. You got the first pick. I do feel like getting the first pick this year was a huge advantage, and I'm sure you guys can figure out why it's a huge advantage, although I was hoping that maybe I would slide by and maybe Matt wouldn't pick the game that I wanted to pick first overall, but sometimes that's not how things work out. So anyway, it should take us about 45 minutes to an hour to get through all our picks here. And again, once we're done here, head to sifted.net, make your picks for the Fantasy Challenge. As usual, if you're a patron, you win 2 games. If you're not a patron, you win 1. And just one note, I usually mention this every year, you can't just like jump in November and December and become a patron because you think you're going to win and get the extra game. You need to be a patron this month. So if you're watching this and you want to make sure that you win that extra game, you need to go to patreon.com/sifted and make sure that you are a patron before the end of this month. So if you want to win that second game, you got to be a patron by the end of this month, and you need to be a patron throughout the rest of the year. You can't just swoop in December and be like, look, I'm winning. Now I'll just spend $4 and get another free game. That's not how it works. So anyway, anyone wins something. Even if you're not one of our patrons, you get to win 1 game. So it's not like you're playing for nothing. No matter what, you're going to win something if you win it. So those are the basic ground rules. Again, I recommend going to sifted.net. The article there that lays everything out has a lot more detail about it. But I think the one thing you should do is make sure you watch this draft before you go and draft for the Sifted Fantasy Challenge. Matt, are you ready? Mm-hmm. So, as I said, Matt had the first pick in this year's draft, and I was hoping I could slide on by, but unfortunately, I did not. Matt, what is your first pick in the Sifted 2025 Video Game Fantasy Draft?
It is the sound of inevitability. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yep. I was really hoping that somehow, some way, like you would say, nope, I'm not taking a chance, or maybe it's going to be delayed out. I was definitely.
It might be delayed out, but you got to go for it. You can't. It's like a Zelda game. You can't pass it up.
You ended up getting the Zelda game.
If it comes out, you got to have it.
You've been fortunate in that the years that you picked first, there have been bona fide first picks. Like the last time you got Zelda, even though I had drafted Zelda for like 3 years before that, you ended up getting Zelda, and now you end up getting Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, there is a chance that it slips out of the year. I don't think it's that great. I think this game 85% coming out this year.
I mean, yeah, almost certainly. I mean, because the thing is, like, Take-Two or 2K basically saying Q3, Q4 to their investors means their investors have a very high expectation of huge amounts of revenue coming in one of those quarters. And you theoretically could delay it if you had to, but that would not be a wonderful shareholder look.
It would not.
And so it's pretty good odds that it comes out when they said it was going to come out, because otherwise you're going to have a little bit of a shareholder revolt on your hands.
Yeah.
So that's more or less. I mean, again.
Oh, I figured it out. The T-bar went. So, Grand Theft Auto 6, first overall, I think that's a no-brainer. I think pretty much... I'm guessing all you guys are going to do the same thing on the SIFTD Fantasy Challenge.
It doesn't sound like it looking at the chat.
Oh, really?
Vincent's very convinced I just picked a 0, which I don't think is true. But
Vincent doesn't think it's coming out at all this year?
Certainly not. But
I wonder why. Why do you think that, Vincent?
Don't know.
Do you have insider information?
No. He just wants to pick Monster Hunter because it's guaranteed to come out.
Oh, I see.
Monster Hunter's not going to score what GTA 6 does.
Ashes in the Hourglass says 3D Mario is more assured choice than GTA 6. I do not agree with that at all.
I don't agree with that.
It hasn't even been announced yet. We don't even know that it exists. I mean, we're assuming it exists. We don't even know.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but it hasn't even been announced. At least GTA 6 is announced. It has a release date. I disagree with you on that. I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is a great pick, and if you didn't pick it, I would have. So you made the right choice. You wouldn't have got it. It wouldn't have come back to you. And Cinetype says, since you have alternates, you got to go for it. You do. Yeah. Remember last year, don't forget, I picked Metroid Prime 4 with my 10th pick. Didn't work out, but I had 2 alternates. I knew I had alternates, so it covered my ass, basically. Yeah, I mean, it's not that simple. There's a lot of strategy that goes into this. You need to think deeper. If you want to win the SIFTD Fantasy Challenge, you're going to need to think deeper than that. I'm just telling you right now. So anyway...
One of your alternates for the last 3 years should has been called the Silk Song sub.
Pretty much, yeah. And I know that there are certain games, but you make sure you play it safe with your alternates, so in case you need them, they're there. And that's what we both do at this point. So there you go. Matt's first pick, Grand Theft Auto 6. I think it's a great pick. My first pick, and actually Vincent ended up spoiling this. I'm surprised that this is like the no-brainer second pick.
This would have been what I picked if I didn't pick GTA.
Is Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah. I thought it was just the safest pick, honestly.
It is pretty safe, but I think it's in terms of, obviously it's going to come out, but like I don't think there's any way this gets up below a 9.
I don't know. Monster Hunter Worlds ended up at an 8.9 when it was all said and done.
Yeah, but this is, I think, is going to be a better Monster Hunter World, and people.
I agree with that.
People love this game for some fucking reason. I can't stand the Monster Hunters, but I will not be shocked if this is a 9.2, 9.3.
Oh, I think best case scenario is a 9.0.
No, I think it's gonna score high.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I definitely don't think that at all.
I mean, I couldn't let you walk away with GTA 6 just in case it does come out.
Yeah.
But I think this is a guaranteed 9.
Yeah.
Plus.
But here's the thing: like you're gonna see here in these next few picks that there's like 4 or 5, maybe even like 6, pretty much guaranteed around a 9 games. Mm-hmm. I picked this one because it has a release date in like a month or whatever. I played the demo. It is better than Monster Hunter Worlds. The feedback from the demo has been extraordinary across the internet. So I feel pretty confident this is going to score at least a high 8. I think its ceiling, though, is a 9. I think. I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think you're underestimating this.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. Because I'd be very happy if I got more than a 9.0 for this game. And this is a theme, so I feel like I'll play catch-up this entire draft. Because Matt gets GTA 6, I felt like I needed to swing for the fences on a lot of these picks, so I was a little more risky than I am normally in this draft. But the other thing, too, is I've won 3 years in a row, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to try to have some fun with this as well. But we'll see when we get to the end which team you think is better. But I think ultimately mine is at least more risky. So there you go. That is my my first pick, of the SIFTD 2025 Video Game Fantasy League Draft. And Matt, it's time for your second pick.
My second pick is Mario Kart 9.
Mario Kart 9.
Whatever they end up calling it.
Which also, I guess, by the way, hasn't technically been announced.
Not technically been announced, but it was in that. I mean, would I be completely shocked if Nintendo turns out to not put it out at all this year and never mention it again until like sometime late next year? Maybe not. But I feel like if you're putting that in the reveal of the system, you're going to expect that that's what you're going to be playing.
That is absolutely coming out. There's no doubt in my mind that Mario Kart 9, and to be fair, we didn't hold Matt to Mario Kart 9. It's just next Mario Kart. So if they call it Mario Kart with a subtitle, he still gets the game. I wasn't going to be a stickler about him picking the actual title of the game.
Because we don't know what it is.
Yeah. So the next Mario Kart is Matt's pick. I think it's a great pick. I do not remember what Mario Kart 8 got ultimately as an aggregate.
I think I looked that up and it was like an 8 point something,
okay.
8.5-ish. I can't remember. It didn't do badly.
First game for a new Nintendo system, though. It'll get that Nintendo bump. I pretty much guarantee it.
I mean, it was going to be this or what you picked, so.
Yeah. So I think this is a great pick, and this was obviously very high up on my list, and this is another game that is pretty much guaranteed to get around a 9, so I think that's a good, safe pick there. I think that's going to be true of Matt's entire team here as we get a little bit further into it.
Yeah, even if they don't call it Mario Kart 9, I'm hoping it is Mario Kart 9.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. Matt's second pick is the next
Vincent
Mario
says
Kart.
8 was 88 and 8 Deluxe was 92.
There you go. Yeah. Kaboom. This hopefully is better than 8. We'll see. But yeah, these next handful of games, I think all of them are pretty much guaranteed to get around a 9. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, Matt's second pick is the new Mario Kart. My second pick is Metroid Prime 4. I can't let it go, Matt. I can't let somebody else get Metroid Prime 4 after I've been out on a limb and drafted it last year in a 10th spot. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, that's generally a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You had about 4 more picks before you had to get this one.
Oh, really?
I mean, I'm very much looking. This is definitely my most anticipated Switch launch title.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Retro has never released a game that got less than a 9. Ever.
That was a long time ago.
They're pretty damn good, man.
They are, but I don't know.
I'm not nervous about this at all. Metroid Prime 3, when it came out, had a 9.4 for the first 6 years. And over time, the score went down as people reviewed it years later. But it was like a 9.3, 9.4 for years.
I have a weird suspicion that this might end up being like a Spider-Man situation where it's something that I think is absolutely a 9.3, 9.4, and it just somehow ends up as like an 85.
Well, to be fair, we are dealing with a new generation of critics. It has been that long since Retro released a game and a Metroid Prime game that you're right, the turnover of people could affect it ultimately. But I still feel like Nintendo gets a little bit of extra love on those aggregate review scores. I'm actually really confident in this. I'm not worried about it at all. I'm happy that I got Metroid Prime 4 there. I'm happy with my first 2 picks, honestly. But I think Metroid Prime 4 might score higher than Monster Hunter Wilds, honestly. But I also knew that there's a little bit of X factor there, and I knew I could at least get it with my second pick. But now you're telling me I could have got it way lower.
Oh yeah, I don't think this is going to be above a 9.
Wow. Okay.
I think this is going to end up in the mid 80s, and a bunch of people like hopefully me, because I'm hoping are going to be like, that's crazy it is that low, and there's going to be a bunch of other people like, that's crazy it is that high.
Oh, you think?
And yeah, I think this is going to be a divisive one.
It's
just been too long. It's been across 2 generations. And people have been waiting for it for since 2017, and really longer than that when you think about how long ago Metroid Prime 3 was. Like, it's been started from scratch again.
By Retro, though. Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing.
Right,
if this was coming from Bandai Namco, I probably wouldn't have drafted it at all.
I'm just saying, like, you've got a double whammy of, like, high expectations from people who know what Metroid Prime is and can be, and people who don't know what the fuck Metroid Prime is.
Some people may not like the lock-on mechanics.
Yeah, or will they keep that?
Game. I think they will.
Like, how much will it feel like Metroid Prime versus how much will they adapt it to what you expect
to just
today?
Be a shooter?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they'll keep
I would think they'll keep the trappings of it because that's what defines it.
I like it. It makes it different, from everything else. So we'll see. I'm happy with that pick. I'm okay with it there.
I'm just saying better than other M. That's all I ask.
I believe Metroid Prime 4 is the most overrated game that is coming out this year. Especially since it will be cross-gen. That's from Sanuku. Sanuku, yep. Vincent says it's been a decade since they released a new game. Yeah, that's okay. That's totally fine. They're still talented. They're still all there. They have not had a mass exodus of people leaving. I'm totally cool with it. So I'm happy with Metroid Prime 4. But see, this is why you watch this first, because there may be a lot of other people that are like Matt and are like picking it lower. Mm-hmm. So if you have a feeling about Metroid Prime 4 like I do, maybe you bump it up and you get that higher multiplier. It could be the difference between you winning or losing. Or maybe you're like Matt and you don't draft it at all, or you draft it really low because you don't think it's going to score well and you don't worry about the multiplier there. There's a lot to consider while you're making your picks. But there you go. My second pick is Metroid Prime 4. And what is your third pick, Matt?
Split Fiction.
And I think this might be the best pick of the draft, honestly. I was waffling. And I'll just say this right now. Like, this whole draft, I would sit and I would waffle between two games. And then I would decide the game that I was going to take. And then the one that I didn't take, Matt drafted every single time. So there is kind of a very definitive sort of lit. Like, when you start digging into this year and doing research, there is a definitive sort of 30 games, really. Mm-hmm. Like, when we get done, I'll go through a quick list of games that were, like, on my consideration list. And other than the ones we picked, I have, like, 10.
I only had, like, two.
Two more left?
2 left.
I was really shocked at how many of my lists we got through. Mm-hmm. And it was all, like, almost right in order. It is this year, it does feel like things are way more defined than normal. And again, I think it's because all the games we're picking are pretty much guaranteed to come out.
Yeah.
Because most of them all have release dates. Yeah. So,
like I said, other than GTA, I think these are all we're gonna know pretty much by mid to late summer.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll probably know who's gonna win by like June. Yeah. Honestly. Like, there'll be a couple games that are still waiting, but you'll have a pretty good idea, I think. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, by the way, we didn't even talk about the game here. Split Fiction is the next game from Hazelight, Joseph Fares, F the Oscars guy. I actually think I won a couple years ago because of their last game, It Takes Two. I got it in, like, the 8th round, and it scored, like, a 9. Yeah. And I think that was what kind of put me over. So this was on my radar, man. This was my very next pick, but Matt picked it, and it's a great pick. I think this might win the league this year.
I think this might also be a 9+.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, It Takes Two is a 9.
I'm not a huge fan of their games. I am. I think It Takes Two was extremely overrated for the most part.
Wow.
But like,
surprised to hear that.
But I'm not going to argue with overrating their games.
That's
what I want. Yeah.
That's exactly what you want.
I'm not saying I'm going to think it's a 9. I think people are just going to go nuts for this thing.
Yeah.
In the review world, I don't know.
I think it looks cool.
I mean, it's definitely the most appealing thing they've ever made for me.
It looks awesome. I think it looks like a Game of the Year candidate to me. It really does. I don't hate like cooperative games though, so maybe that
I would hope any Game of the Year candidate, especially this year, would be in the 9s.
Yeah, but not always.
Not always, but
last year there was a couple.
The competition is in play this year.
Yeah, this game looks really cool though, and again, based upon the studio and the experiences I've had with their games in the past, I'm very confident that they're going to nail it, and I think it's a good pick. I think it's going to do very well for you there in your third slot. My third pick in the 2025 draft is something you probably are waiting for me to pick because you knew I was gonna, because I kind of had to. And that is Hollow Knight Silksong. Have I drafted it 2 years in a row at this point? Now this will be 3?
I think this is 3,
This will be 3 years in a row? Again, I can't let you get this, Matt. I've invested way too much into this game to make sure that this is eventually on my fantasy team. There's been all these rumblings over the last week. Everyone thinks that they're going to show this game at the Nintendo thing. So much so that, like, Team Cherry had came out and made a statement. Like, you guys are reading it. They posted, like, an image of a cake on social media. And people are like, oh, that means they're showing it at the Switch reveal event on April 2nd. And actually what made me a little bit sad was Team Cherry came out and said, oh, you guys are reading into it too much. But come on, man. This game was supposed to release last summer on Game Pass. Remember that?
Yeah.
They're like launching in June on Game Pass. And it never happened. And here we are 7 months later, 8 months later. It's got to come out this year. It has to come out this year. Vortex Complex says Silksong seems like a risky pick. You're right.
Yep.
It will always be a risky pick until it comes out. It just will be.
Yeah, actually, that's right. That was 2 summers ago.
When what?
It was supposed to come out on Game Pass.
No, that was last year.
It was 2 years ago.
No.
Yeah.
That was last year.
It was 2 years ago.
That's why I drafted it last year. They said it was coming out in June.
You drafted it last year because you'd gotten burned on it the year before.
I don't think so.
The last trailer was 2022.
But there's only one trailer for it. There's only ever been one. There's never been another one.
No?
There's only one. Yeah. They're way overdue. And look, I made this pick. I knew it was risky, and I cover my ass later on. That's how it works. That's how these drafts work. You got to make sure if you take a risky pick, you got to be very conservative with your alternates. That's one thing you learn very quickly playing in this game. So I'm 80% sure it's coming out this year. That's good enough for me for a game that if it does come out, will definitely score a 9 at my third slot. Like,
been such a long, weird road that people have like weird expectations of it, and there's like, oh, it's not as good. We shouldn't have had to wait this long for this kind of thing. Like, not for any real reason about the game, but in sort of like a, you know, you have that thing where it's like you're going to judge this a little harsher because everyone had to wait so long and they were so quiet for 2 years, and
there could be a little bit of that. I think mostly people just really loved Hollow Knight.
Yeah,
and I think this one has been in development for what, 6 years now.
Yeah, late before the pandemic.
I mean, it should be really damn good.
We don't realize how old Hollow Knight is.
I know.
At this point.
Yeah.
Isn't it 10 years old this year?
It is, I think. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's my third pick. Hollow Knight Silksong. Yes, a little risky. I'm willing to take the risk for a game that could score that high. Matt, what is your fourth pick in the 2025 draft?
Civilization 7.
Yep. The other game I was thinking about, like I said, again,
which I'm not sure. Is it even Sid Meier's Civilization anymore?
I think it is still.
Is it still that?
Yeah, I think it still is. Yeah.
Because I know he doesn't work on them anymore, really. But like,
yeah, I mean, he's just a consultant at this point. I don't know if there's ever been a Civ that scored below a 9. Can you think of any?
I don't remember.
The Civ 6 scored a 9.1. I think when I checked aggregate, it's still at like a 9 point whatever. This is guaranteed a 9 at least.
Yeah, the buzz on this is really good too. So.
Oh yeah. The previews for this have been incredible. People are gushing over the game. It looks like, and again, I think Hollow Knight can score like a 9.2 or a 9.3. That's the only reason I chose it before Civ, and it could end up being a huge mistake. I could get a 0 there, and I know Civ is coming out because it comes out next month, right? February. Yeah. Yep. So you know it's coming out. You know it's going to get a 9. It probably was the better pick, honestly, in hindsight. Over Silksong, but sometimes in the heat of the moment you got to make tough decisions, and that was my decision, so I have to live with it at this point. But Matt, yeah, I mean, you're going to get at least a 9 there in your 4 spot. I mean, you can't ask for much better than that. Like, honestly, you're going to see by the time we get to the end of this draft that there are so many good games coming out this year. The question, a lot of them, is, are they going to make it out this year? But I think it's going to be a great year for video games. Okay. Now we're on to my fourth pick, and I couldn't let this one slip for much longer. And this could also be a huge mistake, but I'm a little confident in it because of how much time they've had to polish it, and that is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Obviously, you guys know the story around this game. It has been delayed twice at this point. I believe the latest delay is mostly because they're trying to find a buyer for Ubisoft, and they don't want to release the game if they can until that buyer buys it, because once they release it, the incentive to buy Ubisoft goes down drastically. So I'll be honest with you, Matt, I'm a little nervous that this game could keep getting delayed until they find a buyer, and they don't find a buyer all year long.
That is possible.
It is a possibility. I mean, it could be done, sitting in the can, finished, and it could still not come out this year.
Yeah.
That is a legitimate fear that I have. But, I mean, for a slot for an Assassin's Creed that literally people have begged for the last, 15 years, I mean, this is what people have wanted. The Ninja Assassin's Creed. We've all been asking for it for a decade. We're finally getting it. Again, they've had way more time to polish this than they expected that they were going to get. I think the game should be, whether the game's good or not, I think will be the X factor. But whether it's broken or not, I don't think it will be. I think it should be nice and polished and clean. Whether people like the game or not, that's the X factor at this point. But it's a new Assassin's Creed game that's been in development for 6 years at this point? 5 years for this one?
Something like 5 years, I think.
And that usually doesn't happen. So, I don't know. I have high expectations for this. I'm very excited. Honestly, it may be my most anticipated game of the year at this point, or at least one of them. I think I had it as my second run. Yeah, it's my runner-up in our Game of the Year awards. My winner was GTA 6. So this is very close behind GTA 6 for me. I was glad to get it in the 4th slot. I'm very happy with it there. We'll see. It's definitely an X factor and a little bit of a wild card. Zed Saber says, I'll buy Ubisoft for 3 crayons and a carton of milk. Mitchell Ness says, check your scene transitions. No, something's going on with the TriCaster here, where if I let a clip run out, it like does a fade. And I don't want to mess with it right now because it could totally mess things up. But I have figured out the problem, so it shouldn't happen again. But I know what's going on, Mitchell, so just a heads up there. I am aware of what's happening. So anyway, I'm very happy with getting the new Assassin's Creed there. What were you thinking about? Was that even in question for you with your prior pick?
Not up here, really, because I also don't, people have been slagging Ubisoft games recently, and
you're right.
There's a world where this gets like a 7.8.
No, you're right.
Or something.
You're right. Yeah.
Even if I disagree, much like Outlaws, which I also did. Not that I loved Outlaws, but
but it's better than its aggregate.
Yeah, I thought I got lowballed pretty hard in the aggregate. So Ubi is just sort of on the outs right now in terms of So I don't really I don't trust the reviewers on this one, frankly. Like I wasn't going to put it this high, but. It might be. I mean, like you said, it's been so long and it's had so much time to polish that you certainly hope that it is undeniably a
Finished.
solid 8 something.
Finished. Not broken. At least we hope not. I mean, that's a wild card with every Assassin's Creed game. Like, you just never know.
It could go either way. I mean, remember Unity was a mess and all that stuff, but like.
And now it's great.
And most of Outlaws' problems at launch. I had problems in terms of more.
The stealth stuff.
Deep rooted stuff, but like in terms of like what it felt like to play, the problem with Outlaws was it felt like you were playing on a cardboard set. Sometimes we're just like, is this gonna work the way it's supposed to? Is it gonna hold together properly? And I understand, and they've definitely improved it. So like, but that doesn't help you if you drafted it first pick like I did.
Yeah.
Because it had like a 72 or something at the end of the day.
Which is crazy. That game's definitely better than a 72. So anyway, there you go. I'm going to ride that train, that Creed train, into the station. Hopefully we end up at a good spot. We'll see how it goes.
Sanuko made a good point that Intel is bundling it with its hardware, so that's coming. Like that would be a weird thing to have to back out of.
Yeah, Vincent says Shadows may be best as an alternate. It must come out game. I don't think I was making it to the 12th. You would have picked. No, I would have picked it
before the alternates.
I mean, you got to also remember this is different from the Fantasy Challenge. You guys in the Fantasy Challenge, you don't have to worry about what other people are picking. Here, you have to try to figure out, is the other person going to take the game before I can take it? And it's like, I know Matt, he loves Assassin's Creed even more than I do, honestly. I think you're even a bigger fan than I am. So it's like, to get it 4th in a draft with Matt Keil, I felt pretty good about it. So we'll see. Like, again, like every year after this is over, you guys pick who wins. You guys are never right. Like, it's just impossible to pick. You just never know what's going to happen. Crazy stuff happens every year in the games industry. So there you go. That's my 4th pick, Assassin's Creed Shadows. What's your 5th pick, Matt?
5th pick is Elden Ring Night Rain.
Yep. This is a little risky, not because it's not coming now.
Because people might hate it.
Yeah, it's just they've never really made a game like this either.
I'm not really worried about that.
No.
I'm more worried about this just not being the flavor people want Elden Ring
from Software.
Yeah. Because I have no doubt it'll be fine. I mean, and also for full disclosure, I don't have any interest in this game.
Really? Not at all?
No, especially not when you have to play it with either 1 or 3. That's
I
weird.
didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, you cannot play 2 players in this game. It has to be
weird.
It's either 1 player or 3 players.
Okay. They didn't want to scale it, I guess? I don't know. What the hell?
Because you're supposed to be a trio. You have a trio. So it's either you with 2 bots or 3 players. There is no 2 players and 1 bot.
Huh.
Why? I don't know.
I didn't know that, actually. That's very interesting.
That's what I read. But
I mean, it is a battle royale Dark Souls game, basically.
I mean, it's like a PvE one. It's like, it's weird.
It's cooperative,
Yeah, it's like it's just you 3, and it just uses the shrinking ring thing from Battle Royale
and you fly into the game like you do in Battle Royales.
So I don't know. Either it'll I don't know what this is going to do, but
it's an X factor for sure.
Yeah, but it's like you're kind of like balancing the newness versus the From Software bump, and like just it felt like I wanted to have it on there.
There's only one bump more powerful than the Nintendo bump, and that is the From Software bump. I believe that wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. You definitely get like a point above what it probably deserves.
Even if it's a 6,
right,
it was probably
you
a 5.
Still get it right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's a good thing to have, though. That's what you want in your fantasy team. You want games that are going to get.
And it was that plus like it's coming out.
Yeah, for sure. This is what, April? Is that
March,
right?
I think.
March
or April.
Yeah, it's early. I know it's early in the year and guaranteed to come out. And that's as we get towards the end of this draft, you're going to see that like it just turns into like, what are we sure is coming out in 2025? It got really hard at the end to find games that we knew were going to be released this year. To find 24 games that we knew for a fact that were going to come out this year became very difficult towards the end, as you will soon find out. But
really counting on the fans review this thing, but also that the fans don't hate the new thing.
Right.
Because fans can hate change.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just tell you, if you didn't take it here, I was going to take it my next pick.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a big From Software fan, like...
Well, my other pick was going to be what you picked.
Okay. I feel like this whole draft was that way. It's like you're shaving hairs, basically, like trying to find one little nugget of reason or information why this game should be picked over the other one. And a lot of times it's all BS. Let's just be honest, when it gets to the end of the year, when we start looking at the scores, you're just like, okay, like that's funny how that worked out. All right, well, my fifth pick in the 2025 draft is, and Matt hinted at it, and you probably are guessing what he was talking about, it is Ghost of Yotei. I really thought you were going to take this here. I thought you were going to take it instead of Elden Ring, and I was going to get Elden Ring.
I almost did, but the thing that pushed me to Elden Ring was it's coming out.
Yeah.
And Ghost of Yotei probably is coming out, but I know Elden Ring has a release date.
Well, the only reason I drafted it is because I went to PlayStation.com, and it might as well be GhostofYotei.com. It's literally the whole website is Ghost of Yotei. And I'm like, man, you may be right, Matt. It may be a case of like that's all they got, but I'm like, they're going to end up with so much egg on their face if this game doesn't come out this year.
I mean, how would you differentiate it from all the other eggs that's already on their face?
It couldn't be worse than last year, right? So anyway, one I was surprised, Matt, that the first game got an 84 when it was all said and done. I couldn't believe its aggregate was 84. It's way better than that. I'm hoping maybe public opinion has changed over time on both the original and now maybe that will be transferred upon Ghost of Yotei. I don't know. I'm pretty confident the game is going to be flipping awesome, but I would say it probably only has about a 70% chance of coming out this year. This might be my riskiest pick. This may be riskier than Hollow Knight, I think.
I don't think it is risky.
Really?
No. Because at least Sony's promoting it. No one's promoting Silksong.
Well, who would?
Well, Xbox tried years and years ago.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with getting Ghost of Yotei in my fifth pick there. But again, I was really excited while we were doing this draft. And then we got to the end, and I'm like, well, both of us we're just flush with great games, basically. So it's... In other years, getting a game like this in the fifth slot would be out of the question. 2025 is going to be an awesome year of video game releases. That's just the truth. So, and this whole draft is games that are coming out in the first few months of the year. There's still 9 other months. And there's tons of awesome games that are supposed to come out this year that I just didn't feel confident in. Again, we'll go over that list as we get to the end. But anyway, I'm very happy with getting Ghost of Yotei there at the 5th pick. Matt, what is your 6th pick?
Doom: The Dark Ages.
This might be your riskiest pick.
It is not.
No?
No.
Oh, you know for a fact it's not.
My riskiest pick is yet to come.
Okay. This is close, though. Unless you have insider information.
I don't, but I'm pretty certain this is coming this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good about getting these games out on
And I don't even think this is late this year. I think this is like June.
Oh, really?
I think this is earlier than you think it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think there's even been any rumblings about its release date so far, actually.
Not really. But
Other than this year. I mean, the trailer announced this year.
It is going to be this year.
They usually don't delay these games ever.
No.
They're always released right on
time. And they showed it to people. I mean, the timing is correct. I think this is going to be like a May, June
I hope
release.
so. Because we need more games after, like, May.
Vincent says we're getting a release date on Thursday.
Yeah, this is going to be a part of Microsoft's big event that we were talking about on GameFace earlier.
And Mitchell says, I know for a fact this is coming this year.
Okay, good.
So there you go.
Well, there you go. And this will get you a 9, at least.
Hope so.
I mean,
it looks really good.
Both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal got around there, and there's no reason why this one wouldn't as well.
Yeah.
So there you are at your 6th slot, getting a 9.
Maybe. I
mean,
hope so.
It's pretty safe to say.
I mean, even if I didn't have it, I hope it's a 9 because I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good pick there. And again, like I said, the first 8 picks for both of us are pretty much all ringers. Like all games that you feel pretty good about having on your fantasy team. At least I did anyway.
And once again, your pick was the other thing I was thinking
about. And see, I thought you were going to take this. And I thought I was going to get Doom. Because I'm like, I'm the shooter guy. Matt is the... Avowed guy.
Yeah.
Because this is like your most anticipated game of 2025.
Yeah.
And you let me take it in the 6th slot.
Well, you having Avowed and Ghost of Yotei is very disappointing.
It is. It's like role reversal.
But also, like, I have this thing where I'm like, I think Doom's going to score better than Avowed.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And obviously we know both of them are coming, but I figured you would pick Doom next, so I didn't.
I was going to pick it next.
I was going to get Avowed after this if it was still available, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So that was fine.
That's the way this whole draft went. It's like if I didn't take it, Matt took it. If Matt didn't take it, I took it. Like it was pretty clear, sort of the hierarchy of the games that we know are coming out in 2025. It only got hard with the last couple picks, honestly. Like,
yeah.
Otherwise, our draft went fast, too.
Well, and also, it's like you'll see as we get to the end of the list, like our picks become like much more like they become things that the other person would never have picked.
You're right.
Like they're much more personal.
I think we both went to our safe space at the end. We were like, I trust in this, and this is what I'm gonna do. So, Avowed is Obsidian's first-person action RPG. The previews for this have been through the roof over the last couple months. I mean, literally, it has gone to kind of an afterthought to like one of the biggest, at least I believe, one of the biggest games coming out in 2025. This game caught my eye at the very first trailer, honestly. I've been kind of scoping in on this one for a while, but I did think that you were more excited for it and you would take it before I got to it. But I do agree with you. I think Doom is going to score higher than Avowed. So from a strictly game perspective, I think you made the right call. And
I held off on Doom for as long as I did because I knew you didn't think it was maybe necessarily coming this year.
And that's part of it. It's the psychology.
But this is as far as I thought I could push it before you picked it.
Oh, I would have taken it, absolutely. I would, and then you would have got Avowed on the way back or whatever. So
I would have picked Avowed instead.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So I think that's going to work out for you, though. I think you're probably going to end up with like a plus 1.5 from picking Doom instead of Avowed. So I think you ultimately made the right choice there. Okay. What are we to now? The 7th pick?
Yeah.
Yep. This is going fast. What's your 7th pick in the 2025 draft, Matt?
Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
I couldn't fit it all in the graphics. It's just the title just too long. This game also, round of previews this week, all glowing.
Oh, it looks great.
It really does.
A lot of fun.
It really does.
It looks like a better pirate game than Skull and Bones.
It looks way better. I mean, that was the previews this week where, like, this is like Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't some, like, cheap knockoff or some, like, novelty.
No,
it is, like, it goes all in.
Except you can put lasers on your boat.
Right.
And it's just like, what in the hell? Like, I love these. I love this team. I love that they do these things, and I love that there's, like, it almost feels like there's some people on the RGG team who are like, we really wanted a pirate game, and they didn't make a good pirate game. We'll make a good pirate game. You know, it's like, okay,
these
go for
games
it.
also have a set of fans among critics that always
there's a
review
built-in
them.
thing, yeah.
And there's a little bit of a bump with these games.
And it's just
as well.
like, and it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Like it's so often. Like I've shown this to some people I know aren't like you don't super follow the game news thing, and they're like, "This is real."
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah.
They've greenlit this game. Yeah.
Like I have one friend who started playing the Yakuza games because I showed him this trailer.
Really?
And he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Is this these?" And he's like, "Where do I start this series?" And I'm like, "Okay, they're not all like this, although." Majima's always like this.
Yeah.
So I started him on Yakuza 0, and he's like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Well, good news. There's like 14 more of them, and they're all that. So have fun."
Yeah. So that's what your 8th pick.
Yeah.
Or is that, no, that's your 7th pick.
7th.
Yeah.
We're up to 7.
You maybe could have got that a little later. Like, I was kind of eyeing this game for, like, my 9th or 10th pick,
Maybe.
something like that.
But I knew the remaining ones I had you weren't going to pick.
Yeah.
So this was the last unsafe one.
The way we play, a lot of it is knowing the person you're competing against and what their predilections are. That's why I thought I was going to get Doom. Because I'm like, I'm zeroed in on the shooters. Matt's zeroed in on the RPGs more. I'm like, because they're splitting hairs, deciding which one's going to score better. I thought for sure you'd take Avowed, but nope, you made the right choice. It'll be interesting to see if Like a Dragon ends up being the right choice. Because I would have definitely waited like a couple more picks before I went after it. But it would have been drafted, definitely. Before my alternates, for sure. I would have had it on my team if you hadn't have picked it. So maybe a little early, but still a great pick. I'm really excited for this game. And I'm not a big Like a Dragon fan. I generally play him for like 5 hours, laugh at him for a while, and I'm like, I get it. And then I kind of bounce off of him.
I wish I had more time to get through all of them. Like I said, if we ever stop doing the show, the first thing I'll do is replay the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah.
But the second thing I'll do is replay the entire Yakuza series.
Okay.
And I'll see you in a year after that.
If you're lucky. I mean, each one of those games like 50, 60 hours.
Yep.
It's no joke. And I'm sure this game is going to be big too.
And word is they're doing a Yakuza 3 Kiwami.
Really?
To like remake that
Wow.
whole thing, which it needs.
Yeah.
And the U.S. version was never really complete. They cut a bunch of the games out. And I mean, I don't remember. Maybe they in the remastered one they put them back in. I don't remember. But yeah, 3 is the last one that really needs a facelift. So that'd be cool if that's real.
Venerava says, I got a friend into Yakuza in 2024. He's on Yakuza 4 now and has a trip booked to Japan.
Yeah. It's remarkable. I mean, because we used to stay in roughly the same area, just north of it, and like we were one year we went out to a fancy dinner and and everybody got really really drunk. We wandered off into the streets, and at some point I realized that we were in the same area that this and I'm like, well, where do we go now? I'm like, well, if we go one street down and turn left, and then down a stairway, and the second building is a bar in the game. Let's go see if. And we went there, and there was indeed a bar in a game, and it was all themed around Tom Waits.
Yeah. It's like Golden Guy.
Yep.
Those little dinky themed bars in Golden
Well,
Guy.
This was Kabukicho.
Yeah.
We're in the red light district.
What else do you guys are saying? Heath Demon says he's surprised either one of us thought to take it. You'll see when you start making your picks yourself that this game bubbles up.
Yeah, because it's a guaranteed release.
It's a guaranteed release.
And it's going to be well reviewed. And again, like if you look at the Yakuza review scores over the last few games, they've gone steadily. The review world has slowly discovered how good these games are.
Yeah, and unique.
Yeah.
There's no other games like them.
Because there was a time around, like 3 and 4 and 5 where I was the only one at G4 even interested in them.
Yeah.
Like I was a big advocate for these even on the PS2, and everyone's like, wait, what? Okay.
No, we were all like, Matt will play it.
Yeah.
We'll let Matt play it.
I love these games from the beginning.
Yeah. You've been a fan for a long time. Yep. Okay, this is my 7th pick. Yep, my 7th pick in the 2025 draft, and this is a little risky.
Yeah, this is
Death Stranding 2.
This is your riskiest one, I think.
I think you're right.
But they're both beach related.
They are. There's a couple themes that kind of filter down through these picks that we're making here. Matt is definitely far more pessimistic about this game coming out this year than I am. Much like Ghost of Yotei, if you go to PlayStation.com, this game is also
actually it's not more risky than Silk Song. Silk Song is worse.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you think that. I think this is riskier than Silk Song.
I don't think so.
Really?
No, I think Silk Song's more likely to vanish into the ether again.
I mean, do you just think it's never coming out?
No, but I don't know what's wrong with it either.
It is a little weird.
Like the only thing that would delay Death Stranding is just they can't get something this ambitious done in the time, even with the crunch they're in.
Or Kojima just giving up.
But Silk Song, I don't fucking know what's taking that long.
Kojima could just give up by halfway through crunch because it doesn't sound like he's dealing with it too
well. Yeah, he could
well.
just be like, everybody go home and don't come back till Monday. Like at some point that could happen.
It seriously could. But look, it is risky. There is a chance it doesn't come out, even though PlayStation basically is swearing that it is coming out this year. If it does, like the last one ended up with like an 8.8, 8.9 to get that in the 7.
I just hope it can fool all the reviewers again.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people legitimately liked it.
Sort of.
I didn't, but a lot of people did.
mean, some people just like Kojima's stuff, whether it makes any sense or not to like it.
Or whether playing it is actually worthwhile or not.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just like the aesthetics of it and the charm and the oddity of it all. And it is odd. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
There's no
it's
getting around that.
Certainly it's the only chance you'll have this year to have Norman Reedus wink at you.
Yeah.
So
Vincent's making me feel a little bit better. He says he thinks Silk Song got delayed out of 2023 so it could come out, or for the Switch 2 launch that got delayed out of 2024. So he thinks it's coming this year because of the Switch 2 launch. I'll take that, Vincent. Thank you.
Nuku says they didn't wait; they got paid to release it later on with the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We'll see.
I mean, that would be a good launch title.
Yeah.
I would be much happier about picking a Switch 2 up if I could get Silk Song that day.
Yeah.
Not that I would play it on the Switch 2.
Yeah. But I agree. Hollow Knight and Death Stranding are my 2 riskiest picks for sure. Like when I finished the draft and I was at the end, I'm like, I got to pick really conservative with my alternates and make sure they come out because these 2 games could not. But again, if I can get Death Stranding 2 score in that 7th slot, I'm very happy about that.
You got one more risky one coming up. A little bit.
Yeah, you're right. But I think it's the least of the 3, though.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. That's my 7th pick. We're on to the 8th pick for Matt. And what is it?
I think this is actually my riskiest pick. in terms of coming out this year.
Yeah.
And it is The Outer Worlds 2.
I think someone in chat just said that it's really risky. I think I just saw it.
I mean, Obsidian getting 2 major RPGs out in the same year would be crazy. But
it
is slated.
Yeah,
they said that's what. And I got the spare room for the alternates, and I think this one's going to do really well. The other one didn't score. The first one didn't score too well.
It did. It scored like an 8.5.
It was all right, but I guess it did it.
Yeah.
I thought it was lower. than that.
I checked it, man. Because again, that was my next pick. You picked it.
But I think
this aggregate was 85.
But I think this is going to be even bigger.
Oh yeah, it looks
better.
awesome, and I think it is coming out. It's almost 6 years since the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's overdue.
I guess Obsidian is bigger than people think it is. Sometimes it does they have enough bandwidth to work on 3 things at once.
I can also say, again, I mentioned this in last week's episode of GameFace. My friend Joe Fielder is the lead writer on this, and we're friends on Facebook. And the stuff that he's posted on Facebook is the type of stuff that you're posting when your game is done and it's gonna come out soon. Also, if you really dig in and start researching this stuff, it's coming out this year. I honestly would give it an 80% chance of coming out this year. I think it's really good.
I hope so, because I really like the first one, and I will very, very much like playing the second one.
I hope it's great, and I hope it does well, because I want to keep seeing these games come out. And I hope that they haven't gone full Obsidian and created this 60-hour RPG. I don't want it to be a little longer than the first one.
They said it's taken 3 times as long to make it twice as big.
Okay.
Which means it'd be about 40 hours.
I'm cool with that. I am starting to get to the point in life, Matt, where I kind of prefer games that are 20 hours long.
It depends on the game. No, there's no set time for a game.
Yeah.
It should be as long as it needs to be.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And I think the first one was done too fast. I wanted to go to more planets.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to
it was over way
see
too
more
fast.
stuff.
For that type of game, I couldn't believe it ended. I was like, really? This is where it's going to end?
It felt like a prologue.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. So double that, I think, is cool.
Yeah.
And that'll help with you as well for the score for the game. I mean, it got an 8.5. It was only, 15 hours, 18 hours long?
It's more like 20.
Was it?
20, 25. It took me at least that long.
Really?
I mean, I'm a completist and all, but
yeah.
It wasn't as short as people made it out to be, but it was shorter than you'd expect from an Obsidian RPG.
Just an open-ish world RPG.
I mean, it's open location.
Yeah. That's the first time I've heard that, actually, open location. So I think that's a good pick for you, Matt. I think that's going to do well for you there, and I'm way more confident that it's coming out than you are. And we're way more confident than whoever in chat said it was risky. Who said that? Someone said it. I saw in chat, maybe ETH Demon or somebody. Mitchell Ness says Obsidian wins the award for MVP of 2025. I mean, if it really does put out 2 amazing RPGs in 1 year, that's insane.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. So hopefully they are. Well, hopefully yours sucks and mine's off. I'm kidding. I want them both to be great.
But it's also there isn't really another company another developer that can do that. If they really can churn out that, because I did some stuff with them years and years ago. They are pretty big. At the time, I don't know what Microsoft shrank them something, but at the time they were working on 3 things at once.
Yep. Well, the other thing is they have Microsoft resources now to do all the Q&A and all that stuff.
And if you have them, I mean, that basically means you are not that beholden to Bethesda to get Elder Scrolls out on time, because Obsidian can just pump these things out.
Yeah.
And not that they should be forced to become a grist mill for these things, but that's just what they do.
Or maybe you just hand it to Obsidian, who can seem to get games done in a decent amount of time.
Well, they can do whatever they want with Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Take their time. I mean, but again,
they are.
But I'm sure someone in Microsoft is thinking well, last time they gave a Bethesda thing to Obsidian, we got New Vegas.
Yeah.
So maybe we should just let them do Oblivion, Neo, Zagos or something. There's an element of maybe we should let Obsidian play in some way. What they should do is go fucking talk to Lucasfilm.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
You want that KOTOR game?
Yeah.
Go talk to Lucasfilm and get Obsidian back on that shit.
I mean, that seems like a no-brainer.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But
it makes too much sense. Okay. So I think that's a really good pick, and I think it's going to do well for you, and I definitely think it's coming out. And my pick in the 8th slot is the game that Matt mentioned a minute ago that he thought was a little bit risky, and that is Pokemon Legends Z2A. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to pronounce that.
I think it's Z to A.
Z to A.
That's what the crazy people who were beating the shit out of each other trying to get those cards were saying earlier this week.
Is that what they were saying?
They're saying Z to A.
Oh, really? Okay, so that must be the right one. why this is risky. The reason it's risky is that we've seen like none of it.
Yeah,
we have this
I think it's important to note that the cards came out last week.
That is important. The other important thing is if you go to Nintendo's website, this is 100% slated for 2025.
Yeah. And next week the McDonald's promotion starts.
That starts.
You ready for the Szechuan sauce riots all over again? Because that's what's going to happen.
Well, this is the sequel to Pokemon Legends Arceus. I forgot how we decided that we were going to pronounce that. It is like a more open-ish world. It's kind of like Pow World for Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Arceus. It's this next game in that
That's what I just said. Arceus ended up with an 83 Metacritic. I'm assuming this one is better. And then, again, it is risky because it doesn't have a solid release date other than 2025. But Nintendo doesn't drag generations like PlayStation and Xbox have. Like, it turns the page pretty quickly. My guess is there aren't going to be too many games left for the Switch 1 after this year is over. There may be like one or two stragglers.
It's going to be hard to justify cross-gen on hardware that old.
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty confident this is coming out this year. I'm not confident that it's going to score amazing because it could go one of two ways. It could be they improved a lot on Arceus, or it could be just like Arceus, and critics are like, this is the same crap. Yeah. It's getting a lower score this time.
Yeah, so, I don't think there'll be too much crossover. Yeah.
My guess is
the Switch is their longest console.
I know. It's crazy. I think this will probably get around an 8, probably lower than the last game.
I don't know. I mean, it feels like it's leaning more into the kind of setting and a lot of the same Pokemon that people like more. I mean, part of Arceus's sort of, I think, shortcoming was sort of the setting was weird, being, the ancient times or whatever, and it was a little...
Also, as you're seeing in this B-roll, the frame rate.
Yeah.
This game ran like ass.
You really gotta hope that, the very least, the power, even if it just looks the same, like the Switch 2 lets it run properly.
Yeah. Is this confirmed, though, to run on Switch 2? I guess it has to, because it's backwards compatible.
Yeah, what else would it be?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So we'll see. Here,
that's crazy if it's not.
That's the other question, actually. Maybe we need to settle this right here, Matt, is how are we going to handle it if they have separate reviews for the Switch version and the Switch 2 version? We want to just average those two scores together into one score? Because my guess is the Switch 2 version is going to score higher.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm torn on that in the sense of like, yeah, you kind of maybe like your instinct is to aggregate them, but also like there's an element that to me kind of means there's an element of me that feels like the Switch 2 version is how it's meant to be. Like that's the game, and the Switch 1 is just sort of like
we're putting it out to make money
because we have to kind of thing, like that kind of thing. Like should you judge it by what it is sum total in the marketplace, or should you judge it by what they made and what they probably intend you to play?
Now, just to be fair, like when
it's like saying like, well, so I played Baldur's Gate 3 on PC, but until I play it on minimum settings, on a low powered computer, do I really get to judge it? And it's like it's performance is a harder thing to judge by, and I know that you do need to score it that way because you're giving consumer advice.
Yeah.
And so if you have a Switch 1, this thing runs like ass, and you probably don't want to do it, and it gets a lower score. I don't know. Like, it kind of depends how you want to run that.
One thing that we do is if we select a multi-platform game, we average the scores together. So if there's a PlayStation 5 version and an Xbox version, I add them two up, divide it by 2, and that's the score you get for that game. I don't know if that plays into it at all. Chat, you guys, you cool with them deciding?
Sure.
You guys decide. Should I average the score of the Switch and Switch 2 version, or just get the score for the Switch 2 version? Just put it in chat real quick. So Congruent says Switch 2. And we don't want this to drag on, obviously. Switch 2 version, pick highest. I don't know if that's fair. You're like cherry picking. Preferred platform, average, Switch 2 version. Anybody else? Switch 2. It looks like everyone's saying Switch 2 version. They're agreeing with you. Okay. Vincent says use whatever has the most reviews. Switch 2. Everyone's saying Switch 2. Okay.
A lot of people are only going to review the Switch 2 version.
Probably. They'll review what they think is going to be the best version. Yeah. Okay. There you go. We're going to use Switch 2 for Pokemon Legends.
I mean, that's probably also a factor in Metroid Prime.
Actually, you're right. So we should do the same thing there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Matt. We're getting down to it. We have our 9th and 10th picks here. What is your 9th pick?
Here's where I get into my own specialties. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves.
But it wasn't just your specialty, man. I was going to pick it if you didn't.
Yeah.
So
This is shaping up to be probably the best game in the series, maybe, at least since Mark of the Wolves.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very excited for this to come back. A lot of people are interested in it who have never played Fatal Fury before because Terry and Mai are in Street Fighter 6.
Right.
I think this is going to be kind of maybe a little bit of a renaissance for the Fatal Fury series. In part because there hasn't been a Fatal Fury game in a very long time.
People have been waiting for this for a really long time, man. And it looks really good. Also, SNK, I can't remember the last time I put out a bad fighter. Or even an average fighter, honestly. Can you?
No, I mean, it was on the Dreamcast, probably.
Right. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Their games, their quality has been pretty much up to scratch here for the last probably decade at this point. I think that's a really, really good pick. And again, it was next on my list of picking, so if you didn't take it there, I was going to take it there. Also, the only fighting game coming out this year, it seems like.
Well, you got Virtua Fighter Revo.
Right, all the reworks of Virtua Fighter.
The remaster of Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown.
And then 2XKO, maybe from Riot.
And then there are rumors that the new Virtua Fighter is at the end of the year.
Really?
We'll see, because they already started showing some of it. But like, I don't. The thing they showed, they said wasn't even gameplay. It was just an in-engine test.
It was gameplay.
Well, they said it was an in-engine animation test. And what they're really going for is blocking, like animation for blocking.
Yeah.
And it kind of depends how long it takes them to get that right. But there are rumors in the fighting game world that it's supposed to be a November release.
Wow, that would be awesome.
I obviously did not trust that enough to draft Virtua Fighter 6.
I'm not going to draft anything based on a rumor.
Yeah.
That's not happening in this. That's not how I roll in these
But
drafts.
this definitely is this year and definitely is on track. And I think it's going to score well.
I think it will too. At least like an 8.4, 8.5. That's a great pick there. And the 9 slot, absolutely. So there you go. Matt's pick for 9th was Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. My pick at 9th is another game that's going to be blown out on Thursday at Microsoft's big event, and that is South of Midnight. This game, I'm a little nervous about its release date, but it's actually been, ever since it was first shown, it was announced as 2025.
Yeah, I think this is I think this is first half of the year.
Is the rumor? So here's what made me pick it or decide to go ahead with picking it is that the art book and stuff for it comes out in April.
Yeah.
And you can already pre-order it and buy it.
Merch usually is a good clue.
Yeah.
Unless they've already said it's not coming.
Right.
It's probably going to come somewhere close to the merch.
The other thing, too, is they didn't debut this game with it. Well, they did. They debuted it with a trailer, and they followed up with like an 11-minute chunk of gameplay. And that's what you're looking for when you're drafting games in this draft is media. More than one piece of media, a solid release date that hasn't changed. Also, this is coming from Compulsion Games. Compulsion generally makes really unique games. They made We Happy Few, which I will admit is a bit of an acquired taste, but certainly very unique. And unlike anything else that I've played, honestly, it's basically like you're trying to fight through like a drug wonderland. It's really crazy. So they're very creative at Compulsion. And I'm pretty confident that this game is going to be pretty damn interesting and pretty damn good. And it is in the 9 slot. I'm also 85% sure it's coming out this year. At this point in my draft, I'm starting to get real conservative because I have a few risky picks up there trying to keep up with Grand Theft Auto 6. I had to make sure that I found something that I thought was going to be really cool and really good that I was sure was coming out, and that for me at this point was South of Midnight. And I think this is only Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
Because Compulsion, does Microsoft own Compulsion?
I think they do.
Yeah, I think it does, yeah. So this is an Xbox console exclusive.
Yeah, I don't think I was going to pick this one.
No?
I am looking forward to this one a lot. I'm very interested in it. But I don't... A combination of I don't know how good it's going to be, and I also don't trust reviewers to understand how good it is, even if it is. So we'll see.
This was the point, and you know this because you were doing the draft with me. This is where I started thinking about picks. This is where instead of taking 10 seconds, it started taking like 2 or 3 minutes to figure out. And towards like my alternates, it took way longer than that. So this is where it starts to get a little challenging, and that would put us at what, like 18 games at this point? I think there's a solid 18, and after this, it starts to get a little wonky as to whether something's going to come out or not. So I feel like I got in just under the buzzer there with South of Midnight. I'm hoping that on Thursday it has a good showing and I don't regret this pick. But again, it is 9th, and like if I get like a 7.5 or higher from my 9 game, I'm usually cool with that. Like that usually is good enough to be competitive. So there you go. My 9th pick is South of Midnight. And here we are, Matt, at your last pick for the draft other than your alternates. What is it?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Okay.
Which is definitely coming out.
It is. It comes out in like 2 weeks,
yeah,
right?
Very soon.
Yeah, so we'll have one of our first games in the draft to talk about here in like a couple of weeks. I was surprised that I went back and looked at, because I was checking out this game too, obviously. And I went back and looked. It looked like its aggregate for the first one was like a 64 or something.
Nah, it was higher. It was the PC version's like 72, and the console versions are like 69 and 68.
Oh, okay. That's better than I thought.
Which is about what it deserves.
It is, yeah.
Maybe a little high, in
this
fact.
This game is not driving hype.
No, it is not. But I think it will probably do better in the reviews than the first one did. I'm expecting a pretty solid 7.5 for this at the very least, and maybe more. It might surprise people, but it really doesn't look, and especially from hands-on previews, it doesn't sound like the combat is any less irritating.
It looks horrible
than the first
really,
game.
They put out a trailer that was supposed to focus on combat. I'm like, this was a mistake.
Inspired combat, but that doesn't mean it's good combat.
Right.
It means it's just sort of tedious.
Yeah.
And that's what it was in the first game too. Again, the first game is a bunch of really interesting ideas that are incredibly irritating to play.
Yeah.
Like they try to make it kind of almost like a medieval life sim in
Yeah.
a way. And like a lot of it's just like, I see why you thought this was a cool idea, especially if you're all a bunch of weird Ren Fair dorks. But like, it doesn't add up to being a fun thing to play, especially when you can just sort of randomly get killed for no reason if you run into the wrong thing at the wrong time. Which I, again, recognize is realistic, but we're not playing realism, we're playing games. And there's you want to talk about the most annoying stamina bar in a history of video games, it's up there.
Yeah.
This thing's in the running. But, I mean...
It was also very broken and janky when it came out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's something that's better this time.
I think so. Under the new management, that seems to have been something they really wanted to address.
Yeah.
You know, this the weirdo who founded the company is still there as a creative director, but he's not calling the shots anymore. So we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty impressed by how the continuity here, because they are actually dealing with, except for your character and a couple other like high-end characters, like these are all real people. They're all real historical people. And that bald guy, the bad guy,
he's real.
He was real, but he died before the setting of the first game.
Oh.
In real life, he was dead like a year before the setting of the first. So they're kind of, but he was reputedly a dick. So they're not like impugning anyone who has a good reputation, really.
They're just fudging the timeline a little.
Yeah. So it's like an alternate history where if like this character you play was there and changed some things, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, Assassin's Creed does something very similar, except with more magic.
What is your 10th pick?
It is 10th, so
it's
just something I knew was coming out. It wouldn't be a 0.
Well, if the last game got around a 7, 7.2, this game's going to get around a 7.58 at least.
Somewhere in there, hopefully.
And that's, again, when you get to this point in the draft, that's what you're looking for. And in fact, my last pick, my 10th pick in the 2025 draft falls very much into that category, and it is Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. It is basically the new take on Life is Strange from Don't Nod. Don't Nod created that franchise, passed it off. Now it's working on something new. This is its new franchise. These are kind of the gods of the branching story path adventure game.
Now that Telltale's out of the picture.
Right, yeah. And so the idea is that they're starting their new franchise here. Hopefully they're pouring a lot of resources and their best people on it. It does follow like a teenage garage band, which obviously appeals to me as somebody who did that when he was in his teens and in high school. I was in like 3 different bands in like 3 years or whatever. So this certainly is near and dear to my heart, but I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm not just going to pick games because I'm interested in them. They need to have the opportunity to score high. And again, when you get to this point of the draft, 7, 7.5, you're totally cool with that. This definitely has a little bit of a Stand By Me vibe to it as well. Maybe a little bit of Lord of the Flies in there too. I think it's a very interesting game that I think is going to surprise some people. And again, the pedigree coming from Don't Nod is generally very good at these types of games. So I am excited to play this game myself, and hopefully I'm excited to find out the review scores that it gets, because it is my 10th pick in the draft. It'll be interesting to see how much they explore the band part of this.
I keep thinking about it in this, like with the idea of coming back,
right?
Years
After
later,
all those years later, and like chasing away the horrors of your
something
youth.
happened,
right?
That no one wants to talk about.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be cool. So again, that's Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, and that is my last normal pick of the draft. And now, Matt, we move into our alternates. Again, each of us get to pick 2 alternates. They are used in case any of the prior 10 games that we chose end up getting delayed out of the year. These games move up into that slot. And again, it moves in order. So our first alternate that we pick is the first game that will move up to replace a game that was delayed out of the year. So the order of these matter as well. Matt, what is your first alternate for this season?
Adamfall.
And again, that was a game that was right on my list, and I was sitting there looking at it. I'm like, I chose between Adamfall and Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. And the reason I chose Lost Records is because the same studio that is making Adamfall has another game coming out in like a couple of weeks. And the studio isn't known for making amazing games, and it made me a little nervous that a studio of that size was releasing 2 games in a relatively tight... Because this comes out in like April?
April, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 2 different teams.
They are. Well, they're also 2 entirely different games, to be sure. This is a survival game set after a nuclear disaster in the UK. And it's like alternate history, alternate timeline stuff. It looks very, very cool, though. But I'm not a big survival game guy either, so I'm hoping this isn't, you're thirsty. You gotta go find something to drink, Shane. Oh, you're hungry now. You better eat something.
Well, I mean, it might be, but it'd be more, you're very hungry. You better go find something to eat, Shane. I gotta get the accent right.
Someone's asking something if something's canceled in the chat. So if the game was... don't nod very much. Outdid Telltale with Life is Strange. Life is Strange is...
New Telltale, Vincent's talking about.
Yeah.
Canceled.
The Don't Nod is a new
Telltale?
The
Wolf Among Us 2.
Wolf Among Us 2. That feels like it might have been canceled.
Maybe.
So, Erebus Jones, you say that you find this offensive.
I think he means my accent.
Oh. Yeah, we're not very good at it. I can't tell or do the difference between a British accent and an Australian accent. They just all kind of bleed together.
Oh, I can. You just put more R's at the end of vowels for the Australian one.
Let's give a sample.
Like no. That's like I almost got my Australian friend. It's a little hat. It's a baseball cap that says AURNAUR, so she could wear it on set, so everyone would know she's Australian.
Oh, that's funny. So anyway, offensive or not, that is Matt's first alternate pick. It is Adamfall, and again, that comes out in April, so that's a very safe pick. But not as safe as my first alternate, Matt, or either of my alternates.
Yeah, pretty sure this one has to come out this year, or they're in trouble.
It definitely does. My first alternate is College Football 26. College Football 25, which people heralded as like the greatest like sports video game from the last 20 years and sold better than any sports game in the last 15 years, actually only had an 83 Metacritic when it was all said and done. I was actually surprised at that. But still... an 83 with my first alternate, I think College Football 26 is going to be a lazy follow-up. This is the first time they have to create a game in a year instead of 10 years. My guess is it's going to have very minimal upgrades. It's probably going to score way lower.
I don't know. It might score higher because now you got the reviewers seeing the reception last year's got and be like, oh no, it's really great. It's like a refined version.
It could go either way, I guess. You're right.
It could happen.
It could. But my guess is it scores lower. But even if it scores like a 79 or an 80 instead of an 83, I'm totally okay with that.
Better than a 0.
Seriously. So I'm, getting an 80 for my alternate, I'm okay with that. I'm guessing that's probably about what I'm going to get. Okay, Matt, what is your final alternate for the 2025 draft?
The final alternate is Sniper Elite Resistance, which means both of my alternates are Rebellion games.
And actually, I do not have a trailer for that. I forgot to load it in, so unfortunately we can't show it to you. But that game comes out...
Well, it's just Sniper Elite 5 again.
It comes out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's not much longer to wait, honestly, before it's available.
Yeah.
So definitely a no-brainer, but How do those games usually review? I didn't even check, actually.
They used to get 80s, and the last one, Sniper Elite 5 got like a 72, 73, I think.
Okay.
Just because it was a little janky and weird.
Yeah.
Resistance is basically the same game, but with new stuff. And again, it's probably going to be a 70-something, but again, it's better than a 0.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Atomfall, I knew they were coming out. You know, Rebellion does put stuff out when they put stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So they are definitely going to exist, and that's good enough for me.
Just in time for my last pick and my last alternate.
Sniper Elite 5 is 78.
What'd you say?
Vincent says the last Sniper Elite was 78.
That's good.
It's all right.
That's good for there. Yeah, absolutely, for your second alternate. Absolutely. And then my final alternate is another sports game. It is MLB The Show 25. I mean, I played it as safe as I possibly could with my alternates because, again, I was a lot more risky with my first pick. So MLB The Show 24 got an 8. This could go up 2 tenths. It could go down 2 tenths, depending on some stupid arbitrary thing that critics like hang their hats on or whatever. I don't care. As long as I get around an 8 with my alternates, that's pretty much what I shoot for. And I usually don't do this either. I usually don't fall back on the just draft a sports game thing here. But Matt, like, it got so hard to find games that you knew were coming out towards the end of this that I was like, well, these are 8s. Like, that's better than I usually get for my alternates.
Yeah, I was really down to just one more game that I was pretty sure is coming this year.
And what was that last one?
Dying Light: The Beast.
Okay. I totally forgot about that.
Which they have
game.
Repeatedly said is this summer.
I forgot about that.
I also had Borderlands 4 on there, but I don't know how reliable that is as a this year release. Probably is, but like also I don't know how well that's going to score. Like,
Take-Two said it's coming fiscal, so it could come out in March.
Could come March, yeah.
And I just couldn't trust it.
If fiscal, whatever, I don't know what Take-Two's fiscal is.
It ends in March.
It ends in March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here are the other games that I had on my hot list that maybe you guys might want to consider as you do your fantasy challenge. Judas.
Yeah.
Some people are saying Judas is coming out in April.
There was some hints of that in the Ken Levine interview that just went up this week.
If you go to Steam right now and go to the Judas page, it says coming soon.
Yeah, well, I've got some stuff that's coming soon that I've had on my wish list since 2028 or 2018, so that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, well, it does say that there, and then if you Google Judas release date, the result is April 2025. But I couldn't trust it. I couldn't find anywhere where like it was officially shared by Take-Two or Ken Levine that it was coming in that time frame, so I said no.
Also, we just don't know what that's going to review as.
I would have put it on my team. This is one of my Judas is one of my most anticipated games. Anything Ken Levine makes, I want to check it out.
I want to check it out. Doesn't mean I trust the reviewers to get it or for it to be good enough to review well.
It's true.
That would be too much of an X factor for me.
I mean, I would take it 8, 9, whatever. Mafia: The Old Country was on my list.
Yeah,
That's supposed to come this year.
Again, I just don't know how that's going to review.
Yeah,
I don't.
The last Mafia got like a 6.1 or something. It really got railed.
I liked it more than that, but
it got railed.
What can you do? I don't know what they're going to do with this one. Probably it's going to be more linear and less of a big sprawling open world thing. That's probably one of the biggest shortcomings of Mafia 3 was just how like packed with repetitive open world crap it was.
Yeah.
So we'll see if this one. But again, I thought about this one, but it's too much of an X factor for me. I just don't know what it's going to score as.
Also, while we're going through this list of other options, maybe you guys can put in chat who you think's going to win. Now that you can see both of our teams, that's always fun. Next was Borderlands 4, as you mentioned, but again, that could come fiscal in March. Subnautica 2.
Yeah, I again just don't trust it to hold to a schedule. Really.
They said 2025. They put out one trailer, and I'm like, I can't do it. The Alters is that crazy game where you like clone yourself, and it's like this crazy puzzle solving thing where you're cloning yourself. That might have been a decent alternate. Dune Awakening. Yeah,
I looked at that again. It's probably this year, but also it's an MMO, and who knows if that's gonna be any good.
Again, I couldn't find a release date for it. It just said like TBA 2025, and that's too vague for me. We talked about this earlier in GameFace. Baby Steps. I thought about that when we mentioned even maybe drafting it. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers was another game that was this. And now we're getting really at the bottom of my list, like really risky picks. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. That game looks pretty cool.
It does, but again, I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah, it's just too dicey. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Believe it when it's in my hands.
But right, because it's been delayed like 80 times. but it's supposed to come out this year. Revenge of the Savage Planet. I literally almost picked that one.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Because Journey to the Savage Planet ended up at like a 7.5, and all the previews for this have been glowing, and it is absolutely coming out this year. So that is one you might want to consider for your fantasy challenge towards the later picks. And then the last on my list was a Hail Mary, which was Fable 4, which some people are saying is coming out this year. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but
yeah,
I was a little surprised you didn't go for that one, but
yep, it's too risky even for me.
Also, we just don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
like if you don't have a gameplay trailer, it's really hard to make a judgment on what's going to review well.
Mm-hmm. Ashes in the Hourglass. I still think a 3D Mario is more assured than GTA 6. And Vincent says, of course, surprised neither one of you reached for 3D Mario. I can't do it. Can't get a 0. Although maybe I could have picked it with the 10th pick like I did with Metroid Prime, but I had already exhausted too many risky picks before that. I couldn't do another one. Eth Demon says Matt because of safety. What does that mean?
Safety, maybe.
Sanuku says both of you have solid picks. I would say we see a draw this year. That's definitely not going to happen. Zed Saber Juno says Batman wins.
That would be impressive, a draw on this. The exact same number.
Yeah. Cinetite says I'm really hard pressed to choose who I think will win between you two. I'm encouraged by that because I'll be honest with you. I think Matt's going to destroy me. I think Matt is going to set a record this year for the highest.
Oh, congrats! Yeah, Double Dragon Revive was also on my list.
Was it?
Yeah, but I just didn't. It didn't end up making the cut.
Yeah, I think Matt's gonna beat me this year, honestly. And I don't just
if
say
GTA 6 comes out.
Yeah, I
think so.
Yeah, I think he honestly may set a record this year for the highest score we've ever had in the SIFTD Fantasy League. We'll see. I mean, anything can happen. We know anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where GTA doesn't come out. Elden Ring gets a 60. Outer Worlds slips, and I'm stuck with Atom Fall and Sniper Elite Resistance.
That's probably my only chance.
Yeah.
And I need all my games to come out. Last year I got lucky because I had Frostpunk 2 as an alternate, and it scored like an 87 or an 88. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, alternate helped me win.
Well, I'm still annoyed that I didn't need any alternates because everything I picked came out, but my first alternate was Helldivers.
And you didn't get
I didn't get to use it. It scored higher than over half my list.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's fun. This year, Fantasy Draft will be divided between those who vote for GTA 6 and those who don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to put GTA 6 in there because if it does come out, you're screwed.
I mean, the SIFTD Fantasy Challenge, you have to pick GTA 6.
The fact that Take-Two has told its shareholders that is coming in Q3 or Q4 is real solid evidence that it's coming.
Yeah.
Could it slip? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. But if they're telling their shareholders to expect that gigantic revenue stream in Q3 or Q4, they think it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, obviously, if Rockstar North says no, what are you going to do?
I would have picked it if you didn't, so it's a good thing you picked it. So there you go. That's the SIFTD
considering how
draft.
The Fantasy Challenge is weighted,
you
have to pick it
or you'll never win.
Yeah.
Because if it comes out, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
If it gets a 9.8,
now, I get it.
And it's
I get it. There's some people that's like, if it doesn't come out, I'm going to win because I'm the one who didn't pick it and waste the slot. I'm like, you're right. But I think the odds are in favor of it coming.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there you go. That's the SIFTD Video Game Fantasy League draft for 2025. Again, the first ever video game fantasy league in the world. We've been doing it now for 11 years.
One thing, though, Ashes says, of course they're going to tell that to investors. They can't lie about that. That's fraud.
Yeah.
If they turns out they knew it wasn't coming and they told them that anyway, that's fraud.
Do laws matter anymore, Matt?
Maybe not. Well,
I really kind of feel like laws don't matter anymore.
I think it does matter if you're a shareholder in a major company because that's who it's for now. Yes.
I don't know if laws matter anymore.
Laws don't matter when it comes to corruption. Laws matter because the people making the laws now and enforcing them are the shareholders. They're the people making money off these investments. So, yes, they would go after Take-Two for that if that happened because...
I have a feeling somebody might step in and just let Take-Two off the hook for anything it does.
It depends whether they get that game out in time. Are you going to make them money? Then you're okay. Are you not going to make them money? Then you're not okay.
It's like the rule of law doesn't exist anymore. It's just insane. Anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the people that are the big shareholders in Take-Two are part of the ruling class.
Yeah. Imagine all the people who sat on juries for the last couple years and just wasted their time.
I'm curious if that will. I'm curious if that will work.
It's just insane. This is
like
insane.
if you went in for jury duty and you're like, I don't believe any of this matters anymore. Can I go home?
I'm leaving. Because somebody's just going to come in and overrule what our jury rules anyway. So, all right, that's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging around in the chat. Good luck with the Sifted Fantasy Challenge. Again, you guys are good now. Head over to sifted.net. It's pinned to the top of your Sift there. Jump in, start making your picks. Again, the deadline's for a couple weeks. You don't have to do it right away. So if you want to take some time to think about it, you probably should. But I do think that what we just did here, this little exercise, will help you guys make your picks. And I hope it does. And I hope you guys all have fun doing it. And I wish you all luck, but there can only be one winner. All right, that's it for us. We'll see you next Tuesday for GameFace episode 419 right here at twitch.tv/SIFTDGames. Adios.